Hello, everyone. Welcome to the DMV Business Show. I'm your host, Otto Sevilla, and today my special guest is Kalpesh Raval. Kalpesh is the co-founder and sits on the board of directors of VitusVet. Welcome to the show, Kalpesh. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Otto. And it's a pleasure to talk to you today. And really looking forward to having a great chat about life, entrepreneurship, and everything else that you got on the agenda.
Yes, definitely. So as I mentioned, I'd like to start off for the audience to get to know you a little better personally. Are you from around the DC, Maryland, Northern Virginia area, or where were you born or grew up?
Yeah. I'm glad you asked me because that's one thing I really take the pleasure and love to share my story. I talk to this about with my kids as well so many times that they've gotten bored now in terms of constantly having to tell them. But no, I was born in Mumbai, India, and the reason I love sharing that story is I'm again one of those immigrants, right? Who come to US, but I was born in a 100 square foot house with my two siblings. So of course, you can imagine five people in a 100 square foot definitely can bring a lot of challenges, especially now when you have your own house and everything in the US. But no, it was a great childhood. I had very happy childhood. Not, of course, uh, challenging in terms of money aspects, financial aspects, and all that, right? But there are a lot of things that I learned being in a 100 square foot house and being in an apartment building where you pretty much know everything about your neighbors as well, starting from what they're cooking tonight, including what their bank balance is, right? So it has been an interesting childhood, interesting growing up there. But that's where a lot of my core values and foundational values of who I am as a person got established. So that's where I'm from. And, I tell my kids this a lot that, life is never the same and you should never want it to be the same, right? But the most important things that I've learned in Mumbai, India, of course, is, you know, you can live your life in two ways. Either you can say, oh, I've got limitations, whether it's a 100 square foot house as an example, right? Or not having that much money or whatever it is, right? And you can define limitations in any way you want, right? It's in your mind. It's how you set up the limits, and that's how you then function, and that's how you live your life. Oh, and the other way of living that life is no, I'm going to be a problem solver, and I'm going to have the growth mindset and constantly go towards having a better life for me and the family. So fortunately, I was able to use the latter mindset, right, of having a growth mindset, and that's where my dad helped me a lot. He was an entrepreneur as well, and I've learned a lot of things: grit, hard work, honesty. He, from a financial perspective, was not successful. And again, we can define success later on and however we want to. But I've learned a lot from him. So that's where I come from. I came to US about 22 years ago, and I worked for a few companies here, and met my wife here, and I have two kids who, interestingly, were born on the same date, 3 years apart, and me and my sister as well have the same exact thing, 3 years apart, born on the same date. So,
Oh my
so that's sort
gosh,
of
wow.
yeah, exactly, right?
That's
So
very interesting.
it
With the
is, it
whole,
is.
yeah, with the whole dates and date of birth, you and your sister and you and your children.
Yep, my children. So yeah, so that's where I was born there and came here with about $150 in my wallet, right? And I'm sure a lot of immigrants have a similar story, like me. But coming to the U.S., just like anybody else, lots of opportunities. It's a land of opportunities, and I'm a living example of someone who always wanted to build a business, always wanted to go to the next level, that growth mindset that I spoke to you about from Mumbai, India as well. And life has given me so many opportunities. So again, humbling experience of where I am. Very, very fortunate and grateful for everyone in my life. But yeah, this is who I am and where I come from.
That's great. Kalpesh, many of the listeners may not know, or they may know as far as Mumbai, India. Mumbai is the largest city of India, right? I mean, it's a huge city. Do you know how many live there? Millions?
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. The population is, and it's densely populated, right? And especially in COVID times, you have to imagine how challenging it would be for someone to live in Mumbai, as an example. So yeah, it is highly populated. And again, you can define it being Mumbai is a city where now it cannot grow this way, right? Horizontally, it can only grow vertically, and that's why you see now 30, 40, 50, 100-story buildings now, right? It's everywhere. I mean, obviously, it's got a great skyline, just like New York, which is what you see in my back here, my favorite city. But no, the population there is just very high compared to other cities. Again, keeping the density in mind. But again, that's where there are a lot of things that you can learn, right? I mean, I tell my kids an example about public speaking, right? And again, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but my son, he's 11-year-old, and we talk about public speaking classes and whatnot, and I tell him that I used to travel in train, right? Metro in Mumbai, and super, super, packed, right? Pretty much during the peak hours, it's very hard to even get in and get out, right? And there are people who learn public speaking by getting in the train, and they kill their fear of public speaking by, either singing if they're a singer, or they speak and they try to sell a product or whatever. And the intention, yes, there are times where you're actually selling the product because that's your daily wages that you get. But there are people who actually use that as a platform to actually kill their fear of public speaking, being in front of people. So again, it's an interesting city where there's a massive difference. Again, just like US, right, between the 1% and the rest of the population. But no, it's super populated, and it's got a great culture and great people who really believe in, again, working hard, and come what may, right? Whether it's a super packed train or bus, and it takes a couple of hours to get home, right? Whether it's college, like I have traveled in buses that took 2 hours to actually get back home, as an example, right? But that's what it is, and you just follow the system, right? And you get frustrated sometimes, but that is not the solution. That's just a temporary phase, and you keep your eyes on the goal, and just keep running towards the goal.
Yes, Mumbai reminds me a lot of your favorite city there in the back, New York City. I've personally never been to Mumbai yet, but that's on my list. But it just looking at things, it just reminds me very much as if it's the New York City, but of India.
It does. It does. I mean, especially, when you look at, the trains, of course, the high-rise buildings as an example, and the financial aspect as well, right? I mean, Mumbai is the financial capital of India, and the stock exchange is in Mumbai, right? Just like the New York Stock Exchange, and it's just, I mean, of course, Bollywood is also, you cannot really restrict in Mumbai, but that's how it started, right? And that's where most of the Bollywood personalities actually live there. So yeah, it's a fascinating place, and I always tell everyone, if you think your life is difficult, right? And then you're sitting in traffic, whether you're going to DC or whatever, right? And again, it's all relative, that we speaking, right? I do say that go to India as an example, and you will see. And I did this for my kids when they were, again, old enough, like 6 years old, when they can understand life, whatever they can, right? But the whole idea was for them to have that perspective, right? It's very easy to complain, hey, why is my iPad not charged? And why is my iPhone not working, for the kids? But when they see life from a different perspective, it really helps. And I can tell you, it really helped my son. I mean, when he saw, not that he didn't know that, but actually seeing in front of you, when you actually see the population, people on the streets as an example, the hardships of people, right, who are washing the car at the light, right, for a couple of rupees. So you can think it's like just like pennies, right? So again, great experience, and I definitely would encourage you to actually visit and see what that city is all about. But it's very close to New York. Definitely not in terms of the financial distress that a lot of people have, right?
Sure.
It's New York is a different, but I'm sure there's a certain percentage of people who still have a lot of issues and financial distress in New York, and unfortunately they are living on the streets as an example, right? Which is a big challenge for America and a lot of cities. But you will see that in a magnified way in Mumbai.
Yes, I remember. I also immigrated here, and I came here at a young age, and I grew up in Washington D.C. And it's very multicultural, like any major city here in America. So a lot of my friends were from different nationalities and everything, different race. And I had very good friends. I still remember Prashant and Kunal, and
Mm.
we would always talk about India and this and that, and they would always tell me how in Mumbai, I remember they're like, you have these multi-million dollar towers with millionaires living in it, and then right next to it, literally, you have slums.
Yep.
Um, which is, as you mentioned just now, that statement you mentioned, Kalpesh, that it's very different in New York as far as that part, as far as the
Mm-hmm.
poverty, and it's true, there is poverty, of course, in New York City,
Yep.
but you might not see it as you would in Mumbai.
100%. And again, we started off the conversation with, how you can put limits to your mind, right? That are either real or unreal, and that's what your perception of reality is, right? And I'll give you an example of this. You mentioned the slums in Mumbai, right? And the biggest slum, which is Dharavi in Mumbai, right? Which is, almost, you can think about all these high-rise buildings as you just mentioned, right? And right next to it is a slum area, and it's densely populated, of course, right? But when you think about COVID, and you think about, the challenges that it can bring to that population living there, again, you can look at life in different ways, right? What they did is actually, surprisingly, they actually got COVID under control there, right? I mean, we of course go outside with our mask, and when we come home, we're using hand sanitizers, or we're cleaning surfaces, our hands and all that. And unfortunately, for a lot of people, that may not be accessible. They can't do that on like 10 times, 20 times, 30 times a day, as an example. And surprisingly, they actually came up with a model where they were able to actually control the COVID in a way where it did not really spread in that area. And I believe a lot of people actually use them as a model to understand how they did it, right? So again, interesting aspects of city, interesting aspects to look at life, live a life, right? And come whatever the challenges are, you can still be a role model and influence a lot of people.
You left Mumbai at what age?
I was 21, 22.
Okay. Oh, so you were there you grew up there then. You were there
Oh,
for okay.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I finished my education there. I completed my bachelor's in computer engineering as well, and I worked there for a year or so. But you know, fortunately, this is another example where your father is an entrepreneur, right? And he has had few businesses. Unfortunately, from a financial perspective, again, not very successful. But and again, this aspect of story is just like any other person living in Mumbai, at least in that aspect, right? Where your access to water, as an example, is also limited. I mean, here in America, of course, you open the tap and you have water 24/7. But there, you got to wake up early in the morning and collect water for the daily usage and whatnot. So automatically, you see all these challenges. You see the problems that are restricting your life to do things that you want to do, right? And that's why you look at those problems and you try to solve them. Of course, having a financially stable life is what everyone wants, right? but the challenges are very different. So yeah, I did my engineering there again with the hope of getting a better life, and then worked with a couple of actually one company in India. Worked with Citibank as well for a year and a half, and this is right around 99 2000, right? When the dot-com boom and the bust was happening, and it definitely created challenges, and does create challenge for people like me and other immigrants who come on H-1B visa, right? Which again has become a lot better now, but again, depending on the leader that we have in the country and the kind of mindset there is, it's always different, right? In terms of how that aspect of brain acquisition is done, right? From outside the US. So yeah, so I was 21, 22 when I came here, and fortunate to be able to do what I'm able to do and where I am today, just because of all the challenges and all the support structure, so to speak, that I had from the friends and the families, right, who always said, you could do better, right? So again, words are words, right? But when you have that constant motivation from someone and you see other people having a better life, that helped me a lot to sort of, realize my dreams and come here.
Prior to you arriving here to America, how were you growing up in Mumbai? What were you into? What did you like as a child?
Oh, I mean, as a child, I mean, I was not one of the brightest students, I would say, right? In school, especially in school, I would say. But I was always about trying to learn the whys of something, right? So example of that is that in my early part of the college, right, I did a diploma in computers, right, which is a different kind of getting to an engineering degree, right? And we had a subject where they were teaching computers and monitors and TV, how does it function and whatnot, right? And I've always been curious about how certain things work, right? I mean, why does it work that way? And asking that question. So I actually literally went to one of my neighbors who used to deal with TVs and repairing them, and I sat down with him for a couple of hours to understand how does a TV actually work. It's about, think about, and my son is actually doing this right now. I'm actually helping him, even though he's a self-starter, build a computer, right? So he understands what are the parts that go into it. So I for that 2 hours actually helped me a lot, because I was able to, not only write good answers to the exam, right? But at the same time, I was able to understand why certain things work. So I've always been that kind of person who want to understand why it works or what the challenges are and what the solution could be, whether it's 1, 2, 3, whatever that is, and looking at each of those and understanding the pros and cons of it. So that's from a school and the intellectual standpoint. But yeah, I love sports. I play cricket. It's one of the things that my son is playing here as well. I'm very proud of him, and I'm playing as well here in the US as well. So I love cricket, and growing up, a lot of friends, and big family, right? And as I already mentioned, not having access to all the different aspects of life, be it financial and all that. But again, it's just limitations that, again, I don't want to call limitations. It's more like it just prepares you for the next step in life, right? What you are going to, what are you supposed to do? So, but no, very happy childhood, loving parents. They still live in Mumbai, and they come here every few years as an example. But I've got most of my family still in India. My wife, actually, she's from Delhi, New Delhi, which is the capital of India, but she has most of her family here.
Do you remember what was your first job back home in Mumbai?
Yeah, I do. I do. I, in fact, remember exactly what I got from the first salary I got as well. No, yeah, I started working as a software developer, working for Citibank, not directly, but as a consultant for Citibank, um, and helping write their mortgage application that they had. And It's interesting because when you look at that, this is again, I'm talking 95, 96, 97 as an example, where, the mortgage aspect of, or the mortgage industry was actually getting built, I would say, right?
Hmm.
And Citibank was one of the financial institutions who wanted to get ahead of the game because, that's when, outsourcing was just getting started. Yeah, I don't know if you remember the Y2K problem, the year
Hmm.
2008 problem that brought in a lot of financial investment from countries like US and UK as an example. And that brought in, or that helped build a lot of jobs, right? Create a lot of jobs in India, in Mumbai, and other aspects of the country. And so, yeah, that was my first job helping write that application. I don't know if they use it still right now, or what does it look like today, but that's what I started working as. And as I mentioned, I still remember the first thing that I bought, which was a refrigerator back in the days. So yeah, that's what the early success
Yeah.
of what life looks like, or looked like for me back then.
That's good. Refrigerator, especially back then in Mumbai. I'm sure not everyone had a refrigerator at home, or did they? I'm not sure.
Yes and no. Again, it's again same thing, right?
Yeah.
Is as you said, right? What part of the country or the world you were born and live in, right? But yeah, it was not that everyone had it or most people had it. It was still something that was treated as a sort. It came with a tag that if you had these certain things, you're well off to a certain extent again.
Yes.
So society defines this in a very different way. So yeah, not many people had it, but again, that's what it is, right? You define what your next milestone in life is, and everyone could have it, doesn't matter, right? But you didn't have it and you wanted it and you got it, and the satisfaction that you create for yourself and your family, that just goes beyond the words and the material aspect of it.
Yeah. No, I agree. You mentioned Kalpesh in India. You studied computer engineering, right?
Mm-hmm.
What made you decide to go that route? Did you have any early interest at a young age, or why did you
Yeah.
decide to go computer or tech?
Yeah, it's yeah. You're asking a very interesting question, and as you mentioned, you have friends and other individuals who also come from India. And one thing that you will learn is that back in the days, very interestingly, the society, the culture of India was most kids and most families and parents would actually want their kids to be either doctors or engineers, right? And that was the definition of their success, right? If you become one of those, then you're set for life, which again is not wrong or right? It's just that how they viewed the getting out of the financial limitations and having a better life for everyone was. So yeah, my dad, he had no idea what a computer engineering actually meant or what it actually looked like, because he is fifth grade. He only went to fifth grade and then never went to school again. But he always had this dream that he wanted his kids, and especially me, to have better education and become a computer engineer, even though he didn't know what that really meant, right? So my whatever I am today in life, a majority of that contribution goes from him to push me into this direction, right? That he wanted me to be. And as I started understanding what, you know, what computer engineering meant. And I already mentioned that I loved understanding how certain things work, right? And so my I wouldn't call it passion, but my interest, right, in understanding certain things sort of lined up with my dad's goal, my father's goal of me being a computer engineer. And it's almost like, if you think about it, a bicycle, right? And you need two wheels as an example, right? And his vision or his hope of me becoming that is one wheel, and my interests sort of came together, and that formed the bicycle, right, of riding life. And that's what I think, that it is just, certain times in life things are meant to be that way, right? And it just worked out for me that him pushing me into computer engineering suddenly started becoming my dream, because I loved doing what I was doing. I loved learning, and I understood that if you keep doing this 100 times, right, the hard work, the grit, the interest, you will get success. Whether the success is refrigerator, whether that success is getting a job, whether success is whatever you define, right? But I understood the fundamentals, the foundational aspects, or the equation, right? To be successful, happiness and all that is different, but at least from getting something out of life.
Good. I'm happy it worked out, and I'm sure you made a mom and dad very proud too.
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, that's what parents are, right? Their parents, my parents, and I'm sure with my kids, I mean, every milestone is going to come where I'm going to be able to, help them understand certain aspects that have helped me successful. Again, life has changed, society has changed, culture has changed, and it's a different country as well. Um, but one thing that is constant is you still need hard work to be successful. You need the grit. You need to persevere. There is no other way to be successful. You of course need to be smart, and there is a lot of luck that comes in life as well, right? So when you add all this, so that is still constant regardless of where you are, what you do. So that's what I'm hoping my kids will be able to pick that up as well.
Yeah. So you land in America with 100 and something dollars, you said, in your pocket, right?
$150. Yep.
150 bucks. And do you come to the DC metro area, or where do you arrive first?
I know. So I came to Pittsburgh
Okay.
initially, and I got accepted by a company who sponsored my H-1B, who did consulting, right? And so I came to Pittsburgh, and fortunately, I was able to land or get a client here in Germantown, Maryland, who worked for, or who actually had a cybersecurity product. And fortunately, I was able to start working for them very quickly, right? Because I did not have that client when I was in India. I got them when I actually came here. So that was sort of the first early small success that I got of getting a client. So that's how I landed in Maryland. And for the last, 22, 21 years now, I've been in Maryland, and I love it.
That's great. And from there, I guess, did you stay there for a while, or did you transition to other companies and other roles?
Um, no, so worked for them for roughly about 2 years or so. And, then 9/11 happened as an example, which brought different challenges to everyone, right? Especially the financial world, right? And it brought challenges to the company as well, um, and so it brought them to the point where they had to downsize. Fortunately, I was able to go to a point where I was sort of the last batch of people when they were sort of downsizing or whatnot. And so, that gave me another opportunity to sort of, look for what's out there. And so I interviewed for a company in Columbia, Maryland, who had a very small team, about 5 to 6 people, and they were in exposition management or trade show industry. And it was a software as a service product. And so it worked out really well for me that I started as one of their software developers again. And that was very close to where I used to live, right, Germantown. And so I started working with them. So that was sort of my next stepping stone in the journey of life.
Great. How did then from that, I believe you also went to MBA business school, correct?
I
Okay.
did. Yeah. So yeah, so I worked for the company, and I was fortunate to be able to help grow that company from about 6 people, I said, to more than 150 people.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and we were the first ones to jump on the bandwagon of outsourcing, right, back in 2002. And so we were able to set up a full development center of our own in Mumbai, India. And we grew that team to about 65, 70 people at one point. And again, from a business standpoint, that made a lot of sense, right? You are getting access to smart people, and you can actually hire a lot of people, right? Within a short period of time. And a lot of people are outsourcing, so it worked out really well for us back then, where again, if you think about a client who wants to make a change to a software and you're able to turn that thing around within a night, just imagine the kind of customer service you're providing, right? You're wowing your client. And that is the wow factor we were able to create with the best quality back then, right? And that helped the business because of course, this 2002, 2003, right? We are talking about the early days. There's no like social media at the levels that it is today, and word of mouth is still the best marketing, right? Even today. And that helped the business a lot, and we were able to scale up pretty quickly. So I did that for roughly about 9 or 10 years. And again, that need of mine of the growth mindset, right, is looking for the next level, and setting a personal milestone where you're constantly pushing, because the last thing you want to do, whether you're an entrepreneur or just non-entrepreneur, right, is to uh, be within a comfort zone for a long time, right? Again, we all have our lives, right? And the life is driven by financial needs and other needs. But I always like to push that comfort level, because what I've learned is when you are out of your comfort zone, um, it actually helps go to the next level. It helps you understand yourself and the strengths that you may not even have known, right? Because you haven't pushed yourself in that situation. So that's where, I said, I'm going to do my executive MBA. So I started doing that at the Robert H. Smith School, University of Maryland, uh, which is a 19-month fantastic program. It's an executive program. So that's how I landed from, doing my whatever I was doing with that company uh, to start my executive MBA. And the interesting thing there is that my daughter was born just 6 days before I started the program. So again an example where I truly felt blessed, right, that I was able to have a full-time gig going on, right? A 19-month program, which is weekends with a lot of homework, of course. And my daughter was born right on the same times. And that's where, where you truly understand. Another example where my wife supported me a lot. And really, I couldn't be uh, fortunate or more grateful to have a partner like her. So that's how I started my Exit MBA. Yeah, you're right.
Is your wife also in tech or no?
Yeah, she's in tech. She works for a government contracting company here in Columbia, Maryland, as well. Yeah.
Great. And then, so you're having your executive MBA program. You're still working full time. Plus, you have a newborn at home, right?
Yep.
And and then, how did VitusVet come about?
Yeah, that's great. This is again a great example, right? Where um, building a business, technology always used to be my passion, right? I mean, that's where, as I said, my father's an entrepreneur as well, and I've always wanted to build my own business. And that's where I went to the business school. But it's a great example where uh, I met my co-founder, Mark Olcott, a great friend of mine. He's a veterinarian, and a great example where I have this background of building products, building business, and all that, but I was never satisfied because I did not have a purpose, right? I did not have a purpose that was driving me in the business, right? It was all the companies that I worked for, I've helped build previously. They were for profit, of course, right? And but there was no like saving lives or helping people have healthy lives or other aspects where it's much more than coming home and knowing that had a great day because you pushed hard, your team pushed hard, and the business went to a different level, but it never touched the heart, right? It wasn't satisfying, right? It was something that was always there. So when I met Mark, my co-founder, he, of course, his background, he's a veterinarian, and he used to work at an emergency hospital, right? And he had quite a few cases of pet owners coming to the emergency hospital and not having their pets as medical records, right? And of course, pets can't speak, right? And for us, it's so easy to say this is where the pain is, and these are the challenges and other aspects, medication that I take and whatnot. So, as a veterinarian, you are relying on the pet owner to share that information. And there is an example that we share on the website. Excuse me, where one of the pets, actually a dog, actually a dog fight, and ended up in the ER hospital where Mark is the veterinarian, and unfortunately the pet passed away, not because of the wounds that the dog had, right? But the dog passed away because the dog was allergic to a certain medication, right? But the veterinarian at that time, Mark, did not know that, right? And obviously that sort of highlighted the need, which again always existed, right? But it was this example where the pain point is there, and the pain is every day, right? People are coming to the hospital with their pets, and essentially they have no medical records with them, and the veterinarian is relying on them to tell them the medication and all that. So that with that background, when we started talking in the business school, and Maryland has this program where you can pitch a business idea and then you can have a few people working on it, and that sort of led Mark and I to work together on this idea. Again, this is an example where I come from a background where I know how to solve things, but I didn't know this problem existed, right? And Mark had this problem, but didn't know how to solve it, right?
Yeah.
So we come together, and that's how VitusVet was born in the business school. And our goal, we started off with VitusVet back then, 2012, 2013, was to solve the challenge of accessing the medical records, to make it easier for veterinarians and for pet owners to share medical records with each other. So that's how VitusVet was born in the business school.
I love that. I love that story.
Yeah, thank you. It's a humbling experience, satisfying experience for sure.
So he had the experience as far as being a doctor himself and seeing this on a day-to-day basis, and you had the technology experience, so you just put them together and VitusVet was formed.
That's exactly right. Yes, it's again a great example where the business school actually helped us a lot, right? Because we became friends in the business school, right? And I'm sure you heard a lot of stories of companies being formed where either they were friends, as an example, or they had some background. This was another example where, in the background, if you look at it from a framework perspective, the business school is helping us become friends. We understand each other's strengths, each other's challenges, weaknesses, right? And then we put the business idea on top of it. And at the same time, we were fortunate that the business school professors and the friends or the cohort members were able to poke holes in it and help us actually make a better business plan, look at marketing, right? Because the hardest thing when you start a business is that you have an idea and you don't know other things, and you either try to do it on your own, or you try to find other smart people, which we were smart enough to know that we were not the smartest, and that's what we did, is to find other smart people. But when you put all these things together, we were fortunate to actually come out of the business school with at least having a decent business plan. We knew how to, market or get in front of the veterinarians, right? We already had the product built while we were in the business school, right? So, which was again another sort of a big thing that was going on in our lives, right? As individuals, Mark and mine, and with my daughter being born and whatnot. So it was a great time. It was a very difficult time as well, but that really helped sort of set the early part of VitusVet in the right frame, so to speak.
So, Kalpesh, VitusVet is a software that veterinarians use to input the medical information of people's pets.
Yes. So VitusVet is a software as a service solution, and the product is there for helping veterinarians um, make it easier for pet owners to do business with them, right? So it's a client communication platform where it helps veterinarians do their daily or basically digitize their daily workflow. So imagine you're a pet owner and you have an appointment for your pet. You'll get a reminder for your pet, right? 24 hours before, just like you would get from a dentist, as an example. You will get a reminder to give medication to the pets, especially if you have a dog. Depending on certain area of the country they live in, you are supposed to, give them heartworm medication every month. Or if you have a different kind of medication, that could be 6 months or whatever. But a lot of pet owners forget, right? So, the VitusVet as a software helps veterinarians, be efficient, be productive, and more importantly, be profitable. How so? We help pet owners book appointments, buy medication, right? Everything that needs to be there between the veterinarian and the pet owner, that is what we build, right? So if you have a question for your pet, especially if you have a new pet, right? I mean, think about having a puppy. You have a lot of questions. Maybe the puppy throws up, and you're like, "Well, I don't know what this is," and you us as humans, right? We have a lot of infrastructure in place where you may have your family, your wife, as an example, or other people who can tell you, I know this, this happened. This is what you do, as an example, even though it's not a professional sort of input, but you at least get something there, right? With pets, you may not have that. So as part of the communication platform, VitusVet also has this two-way texting platform where you can text a veterinarian, just like how you would text your friends, right? And the veterinarian would actually answer back on the text. So text. So again, your veterinarian is now just a text away. It's not a phone call away where you're calling, they're busy, especially during COVID times, and you're on hold, and you're on hold for a couple minutes or whatnot, right? And you give up, and especially people hate talking on the phone these days. So again, it digitizes the experience for the pet owners to work or to take care of their pet by working with the veterinarian.
I love this. It just makes the communication so much easier between the pet owner and the vet. Was anything
Yep.
like this in the market, or how did the veterinarian practice market take to this when you came out with this SaaS product?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Some of the solutions existed. One of the core aspects of VitusVet, which is how we started, is accessing medical records, right? Veterinarians and the industry itself, not that they're trying to hide it, but the transparency aspect of medical records just did not exist back in the days, right? So we were the early proponent, and that's what we pushed, and we were able to change the industry in that aspect, where now everyone started talking about the medical records aspect, right? Is providing pet owners access to the medical records because they paid for it, right? And that sort of helped lay down the core foundation of why VitusVet exists, or why VitusVet is different, right? Because VitusVet not only helps you communicate with your clients who are the pet owners, but it also provides value to your clients, right? I mean, if you ask someone to download an app, I don't know if you have your car insurance app on your phone. Probably you don't. You don't even know if that exists, right?
I do not.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So if a veterinarian wants to make it easier for their clients to do business with them, where they just pull out the phone and with just a couple of clicks they can order medication, and now the pet owner is happy, the veterinarian is happy, and the veterinary industry and the practices, it's I'm not sure. Do you have a pet by any chance?
Yes, we have a dog. We rescued her about maybe 2 years ago or so. So
Okay.
we're a dog family.
So this is completely something that you understand is when you walk into veterinary practice, and again, things are changing, things are getting better, right? The veterinarians are adopting technology much better than they were in 2014, 15, 16. But when you walk into the practice, there is a big difference between where the world is from a technology perspective and where the practice is, right? I mean, we are talking about veterinarians still relying 99% of their appointment revenue coming from the phone, right? If you want an appointment, you have to call your veterinarian. It's nothing existed back there for you to actually make an appointment, right? Or from the website, let alone doing it from your text messages, right? So, a lot of to your question, solutions existed in certain forms, right? But there was not a clear value proposition for the pet owners, first of all. And tying all that together as a client communication platform, what we did and what the goal was is to make the pet care accessible, right? And that's where everything comes in, the communication, whether it's texting, the medication, buying, or making an appointment. What you've done is you have now the barriers to service, right? You have brought them down now, where now I don't have to search for phone number of my veterinarian on Google. I don't have to go to the website if I have an app, as an example, or I can just text and I can get an appointment, as an example. It just changes the experience of the clients. And when you make something easier, and I'm sure you do this, and I see Amazon, boxes coming every day in the neighborhood here because it's so easy. And that's one of the things I heard from someone who said that, sometimes they get scared because they know that if they touch that button one click, right, it will show up at their door within
Yeah.
the next day.
I feel like I see
So
an Amazon package in my house every day. It's
exactly
mostly my
right.
wife.
So so yeah, we made it easier for pet owners, right, to access their pets' medical records, book appointments, and all that. So that's how value proposition, ease, Those were the two things which helped make the pet care accessible. And just recently, we have been working on making pet care affordable, right? I mean, especially when you look at COVID and the hardship that it brings for a lot of people and pet owners, right? Um, you may not have that $250, $300 to spend on a dental appointment, right? So we've been working on how to make pet care affordable by offering a monthly subscription as an example, where you can break your bill into 6 or 9 months or 12 months, and you can pay it in installments with 0% interest. And again, with the assumption that it's so easy for you to opt in for those programs, right? So accessibility, right? And affordability. Those are the two big things why VitusVet exists today.
Kalpesh, knowing what you know now, is there anything you would have changed in your career?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't think I have been asked that question ever before. Um, I, I don't. Nothing comes to my mind as far as what I would have changed. If you ask me, what would you have told your 18-year-old self, as an example? That's another way to look at it, right?
Yes.
I definitely think that that dream of entrepreneurship, right, of solving problems but having a business. I could have pushed a little bit further to actually start early on, right? But I don't know. It's just I just feel that, and again, that's a story, right? When it comes to my life, is with my father dreaming that I should be a computer engineer, not knowing what that really means, right? Back in the days, and then certain aspects of me meeting my wife here, and then meeting my co-founder at business school, and certain aspects of that is it's just funny how it works, right? So I don't know what I would have changed. Again, there are certain things that come to mind, right? I mean, when I look at the sacrifices that my wife has made, right? Sure, there are times when I think that I should have been more understanding, right? I should have been more reciprocative, as an example, right? But again, those are things that come to mind from a professional standpoint and entrepreneurship standpoint. I think is just, and there are always things that can be better, right? You could have done differently, but no, I just think that I have been fortunate, and that's what I tell my kids as well, that the passion that I had, or the hard work aspects and grit and all that, convert into passion, where I'm able to put that behind a purpose, has helped me live a life where it's more satisfying, where I am able to wake up every morning and I'm want to work hard. I want to do that, whatever it takes to actually get certain things done, because that especially at VitusVet, when I started, that everything that you do is going to help the pets live longer and have a healthier life. And when you have a true purpose for whatever you're doing every day, it just changes your perspective. So yes, you could say that that could have happened or should have happened a lot earlier in the life, as an example. That may be it, but otherwise, no. I think certain things just were done naturally, and just gifted and grateful for everything that has happened.
What is it that you're most proud of this far in your business career?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think the biggest thing that I'm proud of is just the number of pets that we were able to help deliver care for. Right, we are talking about millions of pets here. I can tell you a story about the early days of VitusVet. Right, this is again the early days where it's a product, you're trying to get the product market fit. Right, you're trying to understand. Yes, we knew that the problem exists to a certain extent, but the impact of that was still in the early days was not captured, right? And so imagine this. I mean, I'm in Target. I'm shopping in Target, and back in the days, the support phone numbers of VitusVet would come to my cell phone, right?
Okay.
As an entrepreneur, you are wear all kinds of hats, right?
Definitely.
Yep. And so I'm shopping, and I get this call on support line of a pet owner who is crying on the phone, right? And they're crying on the phone not because they're upset. They're of course upset because their pet was in the ER, but they were so happy because she had to be out of the city, as an example, right? And she was not able to constantly follow up on her pet's progress in terms of what's going on, right? But because of VitusVet, she was able to access her pet's medical records. And she was able to actually see that her dog at 3 a.m. got, as an example, something to drink. So I'm at Target, I get this phone call, the pet owner was crying, and she couldn't stop crying, and she couldn't stop thanking VitusVet and thanking me and the team for making it easier for her to access her pet's medical records, because she was hundreds of miles away from where the pet was in the ER, but she was able to see the record where the pet was fed. The pet had something to drink in the morning after the surgery. The pet was actually, so the progress, she had access to it, and that gave her that sort of, calm, right? That, your pet is doing better, which otherwise she had to call the front desk, then she would have to have the veterinarian call her, right? So you're talking about a process that's broken, that's fragmented, where getting access to simple things like medical records didn't exist. And it was so hard to get update to on your pet, but now she was just able to do it with the click of a button on the phone. She was very happy. And so again, I'm very proud of what we were able to do. We are able to do at VitusVet, right? Is to deliver care, to make it easier, accessible, right? The care is accessible, right? It's just a text away. And I'm very proud of how we are able to deliver care in terms of accessibility, right? Because a lot of people are not able to afford, and healthcare is expensive in general, right? For humans and for pets as well. And so really it's one of those things when you talk about the highlight of your life, right? That you're very proud of your accomplishment. I feel like, I have been, fortunately, me and the team have been able to help the pets live longer and have a safer life. And it just, I still get goosebumps while I'm actually saying this. I'm getting goosebumps right now. That it's, I'm very grateful for getting to be part of VitusVet, to be able to do what we did, and for the next, so many years, we're going to be able to deliver this and much more. So that's what I feel very proud of from a professional standpoint.
I love it, Kalpesh. It's amazing when you're able to help patients, clients, and customers, and they see it themselves and they appreciate it. It's just such an amazing feeling.
100%. I mean, I tell you another example where, getting access to X-rays and ultrasound on the phone, right, on your app, just changes how you view the healthcare in a different way, right? So again, very proud of those, that accomplishment. And I think in general, I think, it's I also feel like, coming from a 100 square foot house. In fact, me and my son were debating whether we should get the domain 100squarefoot.com, right? As part of our story, right? Coming from 100 square foot and coming where I am. I mean, as I said, I mean, I'm just so grateful for everyone who has participated, helped me, my coaches, right? Mentors. the business school, friends, Mark Olcott, my friend and co-founder, right? And my wife. I mean, it's just my wife has sacrificed so much in life, right? And when you look at life and you look at, what has made you the person you are, and whatever definition of success you have, um, what are the major contributions? I mean, my wife has played such a big role in helping me, not only in terms of who I am, but where I am as well. So yeah, very, accomplishment and all that is relative speaking, right? And but when you look at where you come from, it just makes you humble. I'd never forget my roots. I'd never forget. I share this with my kids, as I said, and they get bored all the time. That we have a really good life in America, that a lot of people don't have, right? And be always grateful for everything you've gotten. So,
Yeah, it's definitely a huge team effort. Um, you mentioned success. I'm glad you mentioned that. It's a great segue. What does it mean to you actually when you hear that word success? I know to everyone it means something differently, but for you personally, Kalpesh, what does
yeah,
success mean to
yeah,
you?
yeah. Good question. Me and my wife debate about this a lot. Our definitions are different, and I'm glad you asked what is my personal definition of success. And I think it's different for different people, right? And again, success is an idea, right? And that idea can and should change as you grow up, right? And it's something that should inspire you, right? Something that should connect you to your core of who you are. And initially, when you are in college, right, when you have your first job, your success could be a car, buying a car, or getting certain. And we're not talking about financial success or financial outcome here. Having money in the bank, and I share this with my friends that Jim Carrey says this, that give or make everyone famous and make everyone rich, and very soon you will find out that that is not what success means to all these people. And I truly believe in that. That as you mature, your definitions will change and should change. So to your question, I think my definition of success is having the freedom to do every day what I like to do, every day to be able to do something that makes difference in the world, right? Whether it's helping someone from a financial perspective, or helping um, pets, helping human, right, life from a health and safety perspective. So where I'm today, and at the age that I am, my definition of success is a lot different than what it was when I was 21, right? And it's just, I just feel that getting and being able to do this every day, the hard work, but seeing the outcome that makes an impact on someone's life, that is my definition of success. But having the freedom of doing it on my schedule, as an example, right? But doing it every day, doesn't matter how many hours it is, but being able to then go back to bed and knowing that not only you had a successful day, but you made an impact on someone's life, whether it's pet or humans. That's my definition of success.
I love that. Last question, Kalpesh. What does the future look for you? What does the vision or the next 5 years look?
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure that out, right? In terms of what the milestone is in my life. But my my goal for the next 5 years is, again, to continuously work towards my definition of success, right? Is um, hard work is something that is built into me from my parents, from my father. um, perseverance and is there. I love and enjoy doing what I'm doing, right? And what my goal for in the next 5 years again is to be able to do that at a bigger level, make a bigger impact. Whether it's a social angle, as an example, or whether it's another way to help humans or pets. But my personal mission is to be able to make major contribution in the health and safety of whether pets or humans. So that's what my goal is. But I want to make a much, much, much bigger impact in the next 5 years. That's what, at least on the kind of vision that I have right now exists. And I think if I'm able to make the kind of impact that I have in my mind, I truly would feel blessed to be able to do it and fortunate to be able to extend that at a much bigger level.
That's great. If anyone wanted to reach out to you, Kalpesh, or anything like that, well, what would be the best resource or how to get a hold of you if they wanted to?
Yeah. So I can definitely share with you my email address, which is Kalpesh, KALPESH _Raval, which is RAVAL at hotmail.com. And I'll give you my phone number as well. And definitely, texting is my way of life, and and I'm sure it is for you as well. And I am
Yes.
always open, willing to talk to other people, learn from them, because where I am today is not just the hard work of what I've done, but hard work of my team, hard work of every single person, my coaches, mentors, because what I've learned in all these years is your goal as an entrepreneur, as someone who's building the business, is to be able to find talent, find other people who are much, much smarter than you, and you can build a team who will believe in the vision and the mission that you have, and you're able to build a culture. That is what the secret sauce is. Everything else is important, of course, right? The product, the technology, and everything. But finding like-minded people who believe and who are willing to participate on the journey with you to make that impact, it's very hard. And business is hard in general, right? I mean, it requires a lot of hard work and all that. But when you have a great team, it becomes a lot easier.
It certainly does. Kalpesh, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you so much. This has been a great conversation. You definitely had me with quite a few questions that I'd never thought about. And I really enjoyed sharing my story, my personal story, the story of who I am, and where I'm going next. So really appreciate you giving me this opportunity. And thank you. And thank you to everyone who's going to be listening to this podcast. And I hope they get some value out of it, whether it's finding your purpose somehow, or finding that, hard work, grit, and some amount of luck always will help you lead to some success, whatever your definition is. And I'm a living example that entrepreneurship is good. So give it a chance, especially for people who might be thinking about starting their own business. There is never a perfect time to start the business. That time is now. So start today.
Oh, love it. Perfect way to end it. Thank you again so much, Kalpesh.
Thanks. Take care.
All right. You
Stay
too.
safe.
You too. Bye-bye.